Yelp is the second biggest source of new customers for most restaurants, and there are a lot of new Yelp features to take advantage of in 2024, which is why in this video, we're going to cover how to get as many new customers as possible from Yelp, but without buying ads or making the mistakes that could get a restaurant banned from Yelp. Starting with number one, great photos of the popular dishes featured at the top of your profile. Because we all know that saying that people love to eat with their eyes. And that's why it's so important to make sure that the top of our Yelp profile features photos that look good enough to eat right off the page. Yelp actually tracks data and surveys their customers after they send them to a Yelp listing, which is how they found that 48% of their customers make buying decisions based on the first photos they see. People searching on Yelp spend almost triple the amount of time on a business page that has good photos at the top as opposed to one that's without. And the longer they spend on your page, the more likely they are to spend money at the business. A great example of a restaurant showing mouth-watering photos of food is Aburaya Japanese Fried Chicken in Oakland, California. Even though fried chicken is in Aburaya Japanese Fried Chicken's name, photos of the dishes featuring it really highlight that. Here are some of the tips to do it right. First, you gotta make sure that you use real photos, not stock images and not overly perfect photography, because you wanna give Yelp visitors the sense that they're actually looking at your real food. So pick your 3 best photos showing diverse yet popular dishes in the first photos and place them in the slideshow. And if you want the photos to look extra appetizing, you can use the Foodie filter and film camera app. You turn the brightness up 10 points and turn the contrast up 15 points, and then increase the saturation 18 points and the warmth about 7 points so that you get that very vibrant, colorful look that so many of the food pages use to attract as much engagement as possible on social media and platforms like Yelp. Then to upload the photos after you've edited them, you just go to the photos section on the Yelp for Business Owners app, you click upload photos, you select the photos you want to upload to your business page, and you make sure that the image is less than 5,000 by 5,000 pixels. Then you add a caption to each. It's best if the caption includes the name of the dish so that it shows up at the top of those Yelp searches where people are searching for specific dishes. You select the most appetizing ones to be the featured photos so that they're centered and most prominent on the listing. Now, just because your food looks tasty doesn't mean the customer is going to make the decision to buy from your restaurant. There are other considerations like dietary restrictions, payment methods, Wi-Fi, and the owner's story that weigh into the guest's decision on which restaurant to buy from. That brings us to tip number 2. Use the highlights feature. Imagine a restaurant customer named Sally living in New York City. Sally is super hungry and she's craving Mediterranean food, but she doesn't want to dress up, so she wants a casual experience, not one of those fancy places that'll turn her away for her open-toed sandals, because there's quite a lot of those places in New York. She has to catch up on some work emails, want some free Wi-Fi, and Sally, to make things even more complicated, is kind of a health nut. So she wants healthy options and gluten-free. What she does is she types all these things into Yelp, into their search feature. And what do you know? She sees this restaurant that has all of those things as highlights. And it turns out that it's an actual restaurant named Grill Point in New York City. They've used those highlights to clearly show the standout parts of their business so that anybody that is quickly looking for something to eat can make those fast buying decisions based on their most popular dishes and featured highlights. And look at that, they're also using our first tip. They have great photos of their most popular dishes, which is why they're getting so many new customers from Yelp every month. We know that because they're also using our platform to manage their marketing. That's how I have an inside look of how Yelp is so powerful when it's set up correctly. And if you're interested in seeing the success stories like Grill Point or Talkin' Tacos or any of the dozens of others that we cover here on this channel, exactly how they're driving growth, then click that subscribe button down below, because every month I post a few new videos going through their numbers, the results they're seeing, and the strategies they're using to drive that success. Anyway, back to the video. The Yelp Business Highlights feature is extremely important because you can choose from over 30 badges to showcase what makes your business unique, like which dietary preferences you can cater to, like whether you accept cash or credit or both, whether you serve alcohol, if dogs are allowed, if you have Wi-Fi, and whether or not you have gender-neutral bathrooms. This can all be updated in the new Yelp business profile. To personalize your highlights even further, you can also add attributes such as woman-owned, black-owned, and more to highlight differentiators that people care about. Additionally, some of these highlights can be voted on by your customers themselves. For example, if your business is good for kids, or pricey, or loud, or allows casual clothing, customers can vote those things so that you show up in more of those searches. And having all of this information readily available could help customers make those dining decisions more quickly. To set up this new business highlights feature on your Yelp page, you follow these steps. Step 1, you log into your Yelp for Business. Step 2, you find the business highlights, which on the app is going to be on the More tab across the bottom, and on desktop is going to be on the left side menu. Then you tap Set Up Business Highlights, and you select the 2 to 6 highlights that are going to be the biggest difference makers to the typical customer. You want to choose them in the order of importance to be featured. Then you click Save. Now, highlights that share valuable information are nice, but ultimately, we don't just want people to admire our features from afar while looking at our Yelp profile, right? We want them to take action and actually become customers, which is where tip number 3 comes in. Setting up a Yelp call to action so that when customers visit your Yelp profile and start to become interested in buying your food, they know what that next step is to become customers. Should they drop by in person? Should they make a reservation? Or should they place an online order? That is the question that you answer with the call to action feature. Adding call to action buttons on your Yelp business profile enables you to write custom text and use an action button to help turn those Yelp users into paying customers for your restaurant. Yelp business pages with a call to action button deliver an average of 33% more user views and 38% more new customers. Thai Canteen in Sacramento, California is the perfect example because they feature both delivery and takeout calls to action on their Yelp profile and have a link directly to their website, which drives more orders, but more importantly, more direct orders. Anyone who visits your Yelp profile on either a computer or their phone won't have to wonder about whether to book a reservation or place an order for takeout after they've fallen in love with your restaurant. The guesswork is taken away, they don't have to think, and yet many restaurants don't utilize this feature because it's brand new. So adding that call to action makes that next step clear and can ultimately drive more business to you. To set up calls to action on your Yelp page, you follow these steps. Step 1, you log into your Yelp for Business. Step 2, you find the call to action setting. On the Yelp for Business app, it'll be on the More at the bottom of the screen, which is on mobile, and then under the Promote section, you can select from the recommended options or create your own. Then you choose where to send customers, either to your website or to call your business directly. Optionally, you can schedule an end date if you want your call to action to run for a limited time. This is really good for driving promotions. So let's imagine that you've done quite a bit of these things right. Your profile is now set up and optimized. Your food looks very, very good. And your Yelp profile has a clear next step for people to take. But mistakes happen, right? Maybe your top cook leaves the burner on a little too long and those blackened chicken thighs got a little too charred. And your customer then gives you a bad review. You happen to serve those charred legs to a total Karen. Is it game over? Not exactly. That's our next step. Step 4 is responding to reviews, especially the negative reviews. Research shows that a single negative review costs a restaurant $700 just in new customer orders. And another study by review trackers shows that 53% of customers expect businesses to respond to negative reviews within 1 week. Yet 1 in 3 expect those review responses to be in 3 days or less. Coriander Indian and Euro Kitchen in Boynton Beach, Florida is a good example of a restaurant owner taking the time to respond to reviews that had less than great experiences at their restaurant. Check out these examples, which I'll put on screen, on how they respond, even when Karens go on Yelp and try to attack them. Anecdotally, I've seen that when restaurant owners respond with very kind, apologetic notes, even in cases where it's totally the customer's fault, over 50% of those customers are then willing to remove the review or increase the star rating because they appreciate that the restaurant owner cares about their feedback. By the way, that $700 figure, that's not the lifetime value of those new customers, that's just on the first order from new customers, meaning that the typical review is costing the typical restaurant over 14 new customers at $50 a pop. Then if you multiply them out by, say, 10 visits a customer, it's $7,000 in lost sales per year from a single negative review. It's pretty scary that a single 100-word review on Yelp could destroy thousands of dollars in value for your business. But it doesn't have to be that way. So let's walk through a few of the examples from Coriander to see how they respond and how you can do the same. As you can see, when they get a negative review, they've created an easy formula for the response, where they start by thanking the reviewer for providing feedback about their experience. And then they highlight a specific detail from that negative review, like the customer's name or the experience that they described having. Sometimes they'll acknowledge acknowledge that it's an issue that they're working on fixing, or that they're disappointed that the customer had that experience and working on making it right. Addressing those concerns and taking responsibility if needed, as well as sharing their business philosophy. Sharing their business philosophy is important because it communicates to the outside world that this issue that happened is an exception, it's not the rule. Then those reviews conclude by inviting them back, or with a way to continue the conversation, like send me a message so that I can reach out and make this right. That last step of taking action to contact the customer outside of Yelp is really important. Not just because it's likely to get the customer to take the review down when they see how much the restaurant owner cares about their experience and is working to make it right, but because there's dozens of other people on Yelp that are watching how you evaluate that situation and that are going to judge your business on it, fair or not, in the coming months and years. So by showing that you get in touch with the customer and you quickly make things right, you're also setting an example for the rest of your prospective customers about how you handle things when customers are disappointed, which then draws more new customers to your business. There's another bonus to doing this, by the way, which is that your team is watching. Your servers, your line cooks, your bussers, when they're working in your restaurant or even considering working in your restaurant, are going to check your reviews to see how you handle it when customer experiences go wrong. And you are setting the example as the owner on the tone to take. So now I want you to imagine that your restaurant has a huge promo going on. Maybe it's the 10th anniversary of your restaurant's opening, for example. And it would be a shame if the thousands of people that discover your restaurant every month don't know about that promotion, which is what tip number 5 is for. Tip number 5 is Yelp Business Updates. Because on Yelp, you can use the Business Updates feature to show prominent promotions to visitors of your profile. Those promotions get featured directly under the restaurant's main info. A great example of this is what Via Mia Pizza in Morgan Hill, California is doing, because they're not only offering discounts in their updates, which drive new orders, but their promotions also include images of their delicious looking pizza pies. So they're squeezing in more pictures to that part of a profile that people can see without even scrolling, and that drives more new customers over time. The promotion plus the photo also helps sway new customers that might be on the fence, while being a welcome surprise for those returning that are looking for other menu items to try. Updates can include things like, we now have expanded hours, or now offering free delivery, or order through our website to get 20% off your first order. People love novelty, they love savings, and they love being rewarded. So when you put all of those things in updates, it makes the restaurant seem active and well managed and helps drive visitor behavior. Now, you might be wondering, are these promotions and discounts going to hurt my restaurant, or lose me money, or attract the wrong type of customer that is just buying because of the deal? If you set up your promotion the wrong way, that is exactly what happens, which is why I created a separate video on restaurant discounting, where we talk about all of the best practices for setting up restaurant promotions in such a way that actually make the restaurant profits, not cost them money, and that avoid these mistakes that draw in the wrong types of customers. If that sounds interesting to you, then click this video next to take a look at all of those restaurant discounting best practices. Take care and hope to see you around this channel soon.